The business.
Welcome to the biz. We're talking economics, education, entertainment,
Labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
family.
Family.
It's your boy NormBeezy.
And Lady T.
Spitting straight facts.
Straight facts. That's all we spitting, man. Yeah.
The business.
Welcome to the BIZ. Welcome to the biz. Like it says, I'm NormBeezy.
And I'm Lady T.
And today, February 3rd, man, Black History Month. We have a very special guest in the building. This one is kind of near and dear to me, you know what I'm saying, a brother from another mother. So I want to definitely welcome you guys into this special podcast today. As our topic today, we'll be talking about Heart Health Month and a little bit of Black history. But again, like I said, one of the guy that's actually made history is still making history. To me, you know what I'm saying, a native from Huntington, West Virginia. We're going to have Dr. Telly Meadows in the building, cardiologist.
Woo woo.
You ready, Telly?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. Great opportunity.
All right, so I cannot go without mentioning special thank you to Toyota. Let's go places. Toyota will bring our Did You Knows. It was brought to you by Toyota. Thank Toyota for actually being one of the sponsors and donating to Positive People Association, our community development organization here in Huntington, West Virginia, where we promote education and health skills using various forms of art, interactive multimedia. Our youth engage in podcasting, short filmmaking, sports broadcasting, and many arts, theater arts, fine and performing arts. So we want to thank Toyota for being a sponsor. Let's go, hashtag Let's Go Places with Toyota. We want to also thank the Glorious Church of God in Christ for donating us a van to get our kids to and from. And we want to also thank Basic Supplies, Joe Williams and Basic Supplies. Why?
Because he provides our basic supplies.
I want to thank Mr. Mike, 304 TV, and Mr. Mike for providing our sounds, hand claps, our music, our theme. So we want to thank Mr. Mike for that too. And if you would like to sponsor or be a part of helping us continue to run the BIZ, just go to our Facebook page, Word at the Biz. Is it Word at the Biz? I should have it right? Facebook page.
Yeah, Word at the Biz.
All right. And then our Instagram page is
Podcast the Biz.
Podcast the Biz. You can check us out there and leave us a message if you'd like to be a sponsor or provide any. And there's a disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities that we represent. So that being said, welcome to the Biz Podcast again. Ready? Let's go ahead and get into some Did You Knows, Miss Lady T.
I'm ready. Are y'all ready?
Did you know?
Okay. Did you know that chickpeas and almonds contain almost as much protein as steak?
I did not know that.
You did not know that. Okay.
Did not know that one. Okay.
It says while eating 100 grams of steak could contain up to 25 grams of protein, the same amount of chickpeas contains 21 grams and almonds a whopping 28 grams. So eat your chickpeas and your almonds.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to use that one.
I'm lost. Like how many chickpeas do you got to eat to equal? That's all I'm trying to figure out.
How many plates?
I think it's 100 grams. I think it's at like 100 grams. I think it's equivalent in the grams, but they have just as much protein as a steak. So stay away from that red meat.
Yeah. Get your protein while missing the red meat. So absolutely.
All right. So I know somebody texted me about the link to the podcast. So anyway, go ahead with your next.
Did you know
that there's more water in cucumber than watermelon?
More water in cucumber.
Let me think about that one.
then watermelon. And you know we love watermelon and think that's all water. So
But you know I love my cucumbers too.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I love
and
my
they
cucumber
have
water like that. That's my thing because I know there's water when we grow our plants out in our garden, in our harvest garden here at the center. Cucumbers is one of the favorite things to grow that the kids love. I mean, our cucumbers get huge too. You know what I'm saying? It's a big cucumber.
Nothing beats cucumbers on the salad.
Nothing beats
So it's
My
cucumbers.
wife is always chopping fresh cucumbers in my
Oh
salad.
yeah, you put some cucumbers, but then you can put cucumbers and vinegar. I like to just eat those as a snack.
Oh, cucumber salad is
Yes,
delicious.
yes.
All right,
So it
then.
says
Did you
watermelon.
know?
Watermelon is 90.
Did you
Wait a
know?
minute. Hold on, I ain't finished with my last one yet, Norm
I know I was just hitting that. Did you know?
Yeah.
Oh, the watermelon has 92% water and cucumbers have 95%. So that's where it beats it out.
So maybe we should call it cucumber water instead of watermelon.
Instead of watermelon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yep.
less seeds than the
And
watermelon
let's see the watermelon.
Absolutely.
Okay. So for my last one, I want to test Dr. Meadows' knowledge
Uh-oh.
here.
Uh-oh. Don't put me on the spot like
I'm
that.
gonna put you on the spot. Let me test your knowledge. Who was the first successful open heart surgeon? And he was black. Who would that be?
You ain't supposed to say it. He was black. He's supposed to get all that.
First
I was
open-
trying to give him a hint.
and he was black. So the first open heart cabbage I was thinking was Dr. Favalero, but he's not black. He was from South America and Brazil.
Who was that? Who was your first guess? I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
So Rene Favalero was from South Africa. Not South Africa, I'm sorry, South America, from Brazil. And I was thinking did the first potentially bypass surgery. So give me a phone a friend. What type of surgery was the first open heart surgery?
It just said the first successful open heart surgery was performed in 1893 by this gentleman.
1893. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You are going to stump me then. Go ahead.
Yeah, 1893 by a black surgeon named Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. So there you go.
Oh, that is a did you know?
Oh, wrong button.
Did you know?
Did you know? Did you know?
Did you know?
Did you know?
All right. So that's
a good one right there. I
Yeah.
like that. I'm going to look that up when I leave here today.
Yeah, 1893. He was the first black surgeon to do open heart
I didn't
surgery.
even know they was doing open heart surgery in 1993.
Right.
That was a good one.
And it also said on the fact that it says he also founded the first hospital that employed black healthcare workers. So yeah, look him up. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
19th century. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a good one. Did you know it covered two things there for us? It covered a Black history fact, and it also opens up to transitioning into our topic for today too. First, I want to introduce, like I said, our guest too. Dr. Meadows came in town to do the Go Red for Women. Go ahead, Lou. Came in town to do.
Yeah, we the Huntington Alumni Chapter and Marshall Cardiology. There were some other sponsors of the event, but it's an annual event that we have every year, and the Huntington Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Don't forget.
Don't forget. Yeah, we got to make that point right there.
Absolutely.
But Dr. Meadows was our featured speaker this year.
Yeah, hit me with the claps.
It was a great event, I must say. I want to just comment and say it really was a nice event to attend. I like the fashion show. The fashion show was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that's Miss Ridgway's thing. That's her thing right there, that fashion
Miss
show.
Ridgway's thing, man. She was doing the fashion shows this hospital.
Absolutely. And I would echo the same sentiments. I think you guys put on a fantastic event. Great to give back to the community, outreach, raising medical awareness, while also tying in some fun bits and tidbits. The fashion show was so exciting, entertaining, great models. So I definitely will be back for the fashion show. maybe I'll have to model one year.
There you go. You better tell Miss Ridgway. She's strict. She got a whole regimen there. If you're gonna be a model.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I also was wearing them Stacey Adams, the red white Stacey Adams. Yeah, pretty cold too, man. Them guys got on some nice little suits too.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
They were suited and booted.
Yeah, so that happened yesterday. So I'm gonna read a little bit of the bio, what they had written of Telly. And after graduating Huntington High School in '94, Telly attended Wake Forest University, graduated summa cum laude with a bachelor's degree in chemistry. Distinguished inductee into the Phi Beta Kappa National Honor Society, and was a member of the Black Student Association. And he says particularly was proud of his involvement as a mentor to the Target program and the Simmons Memorial Foundation. We go on about, Dr. Meadows is currently an interventional cardiologist.
Yes.
With Novant Health, Novant Health Heart and Vascular Institute. He is a medical director of He's the medical director. I'll say it again. He's a medical director of the Cardiac Catheterization Laboratory and an assistant professor of medicine at Campbell University. Jerry Wallace School of Osteopathic Medicine. Also, like I said, outside of that, I didn't read all his achievements. He has so many. Received a medical degree. He went to Emory University, Johns Hopkins. He went to the best of the schools. Graduated with like a 4.8, something like that. But outside of that, let me put the paper down. Like I said, I mean, this is really truly a brother from another mother and father. I grew up basically staying at their house nights and the night, you know what I'm saying? Our other brother Tim was in the wedding, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, I can go on and on about how much this family meant to me growing up in the community of Huntington, West Virginia, and how proud we are. I know his parents is proud, but I know how proud we are to watch Telly. Y'all, you were a tennis national champion?
No, not national.
Well,
state champion. State champion. Yeah.
What you mean? You was one of them. Oh, come on, let me give you that. But,
yeah, and maybe my Black history tidbit. Did you know? So, my older brother was also state champion in tennis, and followed by me. So we'd have to look it up in the West Virginia history books, but there may not be another Black brother combo ever to win state history in tennis in West Virginia.
Yeah, that's big. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of talent in the family. You know what I'm saying? A lot of talent, and just having the brains, man. And Telly, he wasn't nerdy. A little bit, but this is one cool cat. But
that was one of the things I asked Norm that yesterday. I was like, Norm, I was like, was Telly one of them that's always in the books? I said, because he seems like he just extra smart.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. I would like to think that I wasn't too nerdy, but sometimes your self insight is not reflected on what others see, but hopefully just always wanted to be stay grounded. This opportunity, I mentioned this yesterday at the event, but I barely mean it in my heart, in that I have had opportunities to be elsewhere, national speaking engagements, international speaking engagements in Germany, but as I said yesterday, there's nothing like being home, coming back, speaking to my people back home. And certainly this opportunity and this venue that you guys are doing is fantastic. And I wouldn't miss this opportunity for the world to be here and kick back, educate, relax, just interact. And obviously the feeling is so mutual. I thank you for the kind words, Norman, but obviously you know how the Meadows feel about you and your family, and yeah, you always was a brother and will always be that. Sure.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And as I said, it was definitely love, man, growing up. And growing up in Huntington, there was and I know we're going to talk about getting to the heart of the problem. We're going to recap what he came to speak at the Go Red thing. But there was also something I was working on, and a question came about. It was like, what was it like to grow up Black in Appalachia?
Wow.
First, let me ask you, when I say Appalachia, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, Appalachia, one, you think underserved community. You think undereducated community. You don't. The first thing that doesn't come to my mind is African Americans, obviously. But you know, it is an opportunity that I think by being minorities in this community, we realized that, you know, we shared a common struggle. And I think it made bonds between all of us friends that much stronger because we wanted to always be there for each other. And, you know, you know, there was a lot of things that we went through that we didn't need to communicate verbally, but we understood non-verbally. And, you know, we can talk about, you know, growing up in sports together. And I can recollect, you know, memories of, you know, being on the high school bus in basketball and traveling to some of these counties and getting called names. And at one county, we couldn't get off the bus. And coach was like, no, y'all guys got to stay on the bus. They was throwing, you know, bricks at the bus. At the bus. So I think
that's assault, man. Where was the
police? Exactly. And I think that built a special camaraderie and a collegiality and those bonds that made us stronger. And those are bonds that you never break. But I think it was important that we need to realize that it was our responsibility to try to uplift each other and improve our stance in life. And, you know, Norman has always been a leader in that front from even, you know, junior high school, always, you know, anything we did, thinking about how can we advance, do things better? How can we, you know, uplift those that come behind us? And so, you know, I think about these things when I've been elsewhere that, like I said, there's been people influential in my life. And sometimes you don't realize that till later when you reflect back that, you know, many people played parts in influencing the man I became, the person I became. And that includes not only my family, but my extended family. And so those are some of my thoughts about it. Yeah.
Right. I do appreciate that too, man. I really do.
You are listening to The Biz. The Biz. The Biz. The Biz. The B-I-Z.
I mean, I gotta, you know, that is true. Like, and that's why I said this is a thing that I'm working on, and I want to document it. You know, I didn't really want to put that out there yet, but I'm working on doing a short film.
Yeah.
You know, what was it like to be Black in Appalachia? What did it mean then? What does it mean now? And many challenges that you say, like, we had to face a lot of challenges, still have to face a lot of challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
The small stuff and the big stuff, like, you know, I don't want to go too far back in the past because you know, but I know, like, even in 94, 95, when they were getting ready to build, you notice the change on how they're
absolutely.
Here, you notice
this is
kind of like a
completely
gentrification
different
type of deal going on. Right?
I don't recognize.
You don't recognize how great. You don't recognize the Fairfield Western neighborhood, the predominantly Black neighborhood. Let's just say, we call it what it is. And I know they had a chance to build the high school that's out.
Right. I remember when that was voted on
the hill.
When that was,
and they were like, and it was
city council, and they voted on the location at the time.
And people were in the newspaper basically saying,
absolutely,
I don't want the school built in that neighborhood. I don't want my kids having to duck from guns, or they don't want to, you know what I'm saying, as if the neighborhood was just an atrocity to people, like, you know what I'm saying? So they didn't want to build the school in this neighborhood for those reasons. But now we see what's going on with moving everything into the neighborhood. Had it the school would have brought the property value up. It would have just cleaned up a lot of stuff. So it didn't. So they devalued anyway. I want to talk about that.
That's missed opportunities.
Missed opportunities. But those little small things too, growing up Black in Appalachia. Like you said, we played sports. We had to deal with racism on different levels. Not even just from the outside. You had to deal with racism from your own on the inside, from your own schools, from your own, you know what I'm saying, different things. Some people didn't get a chance to play sports because of, and whatever excuse it was, oh, you just didn't have the grades. Oh, he just didn't do this. Oh, he just couldn't do that. But we know there were some times where they just did things and said, okay, this kid's not gonna get this opportunity. So a lot of missed opportunities. But anyway, when you think about Appalachia, you don't necessarily think about, especially West Virginia. You say West Virginia, because Appalachia covers multiple states.
Right, absolutely.
When you think about West Virginia, it's always, what part of Virginia are you from? I got a cousin near Richmond. I got a cousin near Meadows Beach. They'll be like, no.
Yeah. No, I heard that so many times everywhere I went. If I said Virginia, first was, or West Virginia, it was, are you near Richmond or are you near Norfolk? No, I'm West Virginia, the state of West Virginia. And then they got black folks. They got black folks in West Virginia. I said, yeah, they do have black folks in West Virginia, more than just my family too.
And then they look down at your feet to see if you wearing shoes.
No, or the jokes with, open your mouth, do you have all your teeth? Yeah. Get them all out. Get them all out while you can.
Oh man, but I just want to say, and I can give Telly so many kudos, man. Like you said, man, like when we had to have bonds, we had to have those family ties, the extended family, the many nights that I stayed, the many nights that his family fed me, the many nights that Tim stayed over with me, the many nights that he been fed, the many nights that, what I'm saying, the many days and nights. I mean, we would stay with each other and go to school the next day from each other's house. So it wasn't just like just staying on the weekend. Like he'd pack your bag and be with your friend for 3 or 4 days. You know what I'm saying? So that definitely was a blessing growing up. And I think it kind of made you who you are. I'm just saying, like, just not you, but it made us who we are.
Us who we are.
It made us who we are. So
absolutely.
But all right, Lady T, I've been talking.
No, I love it. Y'all kind of reminiscing and everything. So I was just letting you talk.
Okay.
I did want to ask. Do what now?
Now go ahead.
No, I did want to ask Telly, kind of, who inspired you? Who would you say inspired you?
No, so first and foremost, I think I would acknowledge and recognize my parents, who were very instrumental at an early age in instilling values. One, that education could lead me further, and my brain could lead me to places far beyond than what sports or other things could. So that was my early inspiration, was certainly my mother and father. Just thinking. And then, beyond that, an early inspiration for me in regards to medicine is, I don't know if Norman knows this story, but I was born very premature at birth. And if you talk to my mom, kind of as I went on through my medical career, that the months of prematurity grew more and more. So it went from, a month premature to 2 months premature to 4 months premature. Is not sustainable for life and cannot be the case. But at birth, I initially weighed 2 pounds and 11 ounces. And as told by me to my parents, is that the doctor told my parents that initial night that I had a 50-50 chance of living, and that if they made it through the night, if I was able to survive through that night, then I would be immediately life flighted from King's Daughters Hospital in Ashland, where I was born, to Columbus, Ohio, where I stayed for 5 months before I was ever able to come home as a baby. And so early on,
I didn't know that.
I've always thought that there was, to some degree, some higher level of meaning that the Lord had a purpose for me in this world, and that He didn't waste an opportunity to have me survive that night.
Hey, man, I wish I had the amen on that, but I guess I got that. Praise God, for real.
So that was my early inspiration. Was I always thought I would be what's called a neonatologist, or a doctor that specializes in treating critically ill babies, because I thought that I could give back to the medical community that was so vital at the very onset of my life, and making me survive and to be able to become the person I was. So early on, I had a close friend growing up whose father was a neonatologist. And so I had the opportunity to.
Is that Warhammer?
Yeah. So Dr. Joseph Wardhammer, who's a pediatrician and neonatologist in the community, was head of pediatrics at Marshall here. So his son and I grew up very close friends. And it opened up just experiences that, that I wouldn't be able to see necessarily in my home directly. And it gave me opportunity to see that lifestyle and just to observe as a kid, like the ins and outs of that type of life, his, 9 to 5, what did he do on weekend? What did he instill in his kids? He would encourage me early on, I would tell him my interests. He's like, yeah, you're going to be a neonatologist, come back, take over my practice, that kind of thing. And so, I don't know if those guys, I've ever even voiced to them that the role they played in my early inspirations. And then obviously, we all are inspired by our prior civil rights leaders. They had asked, I remember, and I just saw kind of hanging on my brother's wall, like a clip from the local Herald Dispatch, where they kind of interviewed me in high school. And one of the things was, if you could have dinner with anyone in history, who would you have dinner with? And I said, Dr. Martin Luther King. So early on, just realizing that just because we were born here and lived here, that the sky and the horizon was endless, and that there was no limit to where we could go and what we could do. But the platform for that, for me, was always that there was going to be my brain as opposed to other talents. And even, I played tennis a lot, and Norm mentioned state champion, but, I knew that would end, and sports end at some level for everyone. Even if you go professional, you play in your 20s, or if you're LeBron James, you play into your 40s. But
Brady did too.
Yeah, and Brady. But I realized that something that was going to carry me far beyond that, and potentially for the rest of my life, was what I was blessed, in between my 2 ears, and not my physical.
Okay, so now I have to ask, how'd you go from a neonatologist to a cardiologist?
So that's very interesting. So applying to med school, my personal statement was neonate. The same story I just gave was actually my medical statement. So I told the story of how I was born premature. And so that went very well on applications for med school. And what I quickly realized, in med school, you have the opportunity, which is a great opportunity. They let you kind of participate in all varieties and subspecialties of medicine. So you do adult medicine, you do pediatrics, you do geriatrics, you do obstetrics and gynecology, you do psychiatry, you do surgery, general surgery. And I thought, and I mistakenly thought, that my love for kids would translate into me wanting to care for sick kids. And I quickly realized on my pediatrics rotation that sick kids are not fun to be around. And pediatrics is more so not dealing with the children per se, but you're dealing with parents, stressed parents, mothers and fathers who understandably are in very bad situations many times when kids are that critically ill. And so I quickly realized that I did not like my pediatrics rotation as much as I thought I would. And I actually loved adult medicine more than I was expecting. So then I said, I'm not going to be a pediatrician. I'm going to do medicine. And in medical school, I quickly learned that I loved cardiology. When we studied the cardiovascular system, it made sense to me. You could A happens to B, which leads to C, and you could methodically put things together, and they made sense. So I loved cardiology, and I initially thought, well, I'll just be a pediatric cardiologist. But then once I did pediatrics rotation, I said, no, I'm not going to be a pediatric cardiologist. I'm going to be an adult cardiologist. Yeah. So that's, I always tell medical students, go into every opportunity with your eyes open and don't sell any opportunity or close any doors. Because, you know, every rotation I did, I went into psychiatry, said, all right, this month I'm going to see if I can be a psychiatrist, and went in fully 100% committed and see if this is, you know, something I could do. And you realize that not only is it important, this is in life as well. Sometimes it's important to know the things you don't like and things you don't want to pursue, even more than sometimes things that you might want to pursue. So it was very easy for me to scratch off OB-GYN. Absolutely no. Don't even think about it. I love delivering babies, but after that, I'm done. So it was easy for me to scratch off psych, scratch off OB. But I've been blessed to have made fortunate, you know, good choices, and I love what I do. I think that translates into the care I provide for my patients. And my wife always teases me. She's like, even if we won the lottery one day, you would still go to work every day and do it for free, just because you love. I smile every day going into work and love caring for my patients, establishing relationships with them. Absolutely.
It's not a job when you love what you do.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
And medicine should never be viewed as such. Yeah. Medicine is a profession and not a job. And you know, there's a saying that, you know, medicine is, you know, to the effect of, you know, the green monster of jealousy, just because medicine will take, you know, all your time and vie for your time, and it wants to steal you away from your family and kids and wife. And so medicine is the jealous, envious, but it should not. I think people who view it as a job are the people who end up burning out, end up not providing care that is optimal for people, because, you know, they look at it as a job, and I'm just looking to get to 5 o'clock, or I have my mind thinking about other things, my beach house, or where we going this weekend, or my investments. I mean, I think medicine is a profession that you go into, that you should go into, realizing that there's a difference between a job and a profession, and you're entering a profession.
So that's why I said this is down your alley. You know,
It is. I want to. I told Norm, I was like, we got to highlight. We got to bring him on the podcast, because I want
and
people.
that Leah's going for her master's.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
And
Thank
Darcy,
you.
you can elaborate more on that. Don't let me speak for you, brother.
Yeah. So I decided, I was, after contemplating for much time, a lot of time, that I decided I was going to go back for my master's in leadership and management, because I'm in kind of a leadership. I am in a leadership position at work already. So I said, why not go ahead and do it anyway? So the course I just finished for school, we had to do a paper on something that affected the area where you live or where you work, and a certain at-risk population, and social determinants of health, and all that stuff. So when you were talking yesterday, I was like, oh my goodness, I just did my paper on this. So I actually picked West Virginia and the African American population, and the hypertension that affects the African American population of West Virginia, and to see the numbers, and then to see them again yesterday, it's just
Astounding. It's astounding. Yeah.
Let's talk a
it
little
is
bit.
astounding.
Let's recap that a little bit. Let's talk about what was the astounding numbers about.
No, I mean, and in kind of preparing, you know, I've did this talk many times, and obviously each year I go back and update and research the latest data and those things, and it's startling. Because this time was the first time I'd come back to West Virginia to give the talk, and so I wanted to make it more personable to my community, Cabell County, Huntington, you know, and just it's troubling to see the disparities that exist between the various racial and ethnic groups in regards to their not only their risk for heart disease and the risk factors for development of heart disease, but even the outcomes. And there's so many different things, and I just touched on some of those yesterday, because I didn't really even delve into kind of the societal socioeconomic kind of bent to that, which is another talk in itself. But just looking at hypertension rates, diabetes rates, the obesity rates, and how unfortunately we as a community, we as a people, Black Americans, Afro Americans, we're doing the worst in regards to outcomes and all of these matters. And how do we raise awareness, continue to raise awareness? I think there's been ongoing efforts for years with these type of events that, including, that the Delta Sigma Theta sorority put on here. But we need to get more of our people out to hear these things. We need to touch people more. And that's why I think this opportunity to come here and do this podcast, because the more ears and the more people we can touch, just even if that one individual, that one person's life you save, makes it, all worthwhile. But just the looking at, 50% more chance of death in regards to Blacks who have hypertension as compared to white counterparts. Looking at obesity rates, and African American women have the highest obesity rates of any ethnicity in the world. Looking at the impact of diabetes, we're 60% more likely to be diagnosed with diabetes than our white counterparts. And all of those things go hand in hand. You throw in high blood pressure, high blood sugar, and obesity, and I guarantee you it's going to be someone, when I take to the cardiac cath lab, is going to have coronary artery disease. Absolutely, 100%.
And then you said what they're guaranteed to have
coronary arteries, blockages in the arteries to the heart. Yeah. So diabetes is such a prolific risk factor for developing plaque buildup in the arteries, hardening of the arteries. If the more kind of uncontrolled weight we have in the community, that makes blood pressure that harder to control. It makes sugar levels harder to control. And then some of the things we didn't, obstructive sleep apnea and how that's higher in people who are overweight, and add that too. And we see heart rhythm problems from all of those that meld together. So I think it was, it continues to be eye-opening. I think over the last several decades, we've made progress in improving general outcomes of patients with heart disease. But when you then look at different ethnic groups, you realize that those improvements have not translated equally to everyone.
We can go into theories.
Yeah.
Why I believe that could be, or why you believe that is. You would have more expertise than me, and I'm sure Lady T would have more expertise than I would in this field. Doing this last year, just about a year ago, Dr. Georgina Logan and Positive People Association, she had Men's Health Equity Institute. We promoted a program with Positive People Healthy Jumpstart program, and collaborated with the Men's Health Equity program. We had roughly around 20 African American men join the program.
Yeah, I would say 20 to 20, maybe 20, 25 at one point, like when it first started. Yeah.
Yeah. And we met once a week and talked about these things, about the chronic diseases and the prevention of chronic diseases. So of course, diabetes, all kinds of things came up, even talking about getting culinary. What was it?
Colonoscopies. Cancer screening.
We talked about a lot of these things.
Prostate cancer in African American men. Yeah, absolutely.
Talked about a lot of these things, and we sat down and we talked about eating better, because that was my next question. Yesterday, also, when you were speaking, you mentioned your top 3 things that could help kind of reverse that. Because you said it's not so much heredity is only 10% of the problem. 90% was not eating right, lack of exercise.
Yes.
And so
you
named those top three things. But also the number one thing, one of the things is getting the information out, like you said. But I did want to ask you, like, again, to elaborate the top 3.
So what you're hitting on is there was a study published in 2004 which went back and looked at identified patients who had heart attacks versus those who had not, and they tried to figure out what causes people's heart. Can we identify things that account for their risk of having a heart attack? And they identified 9 factors that were easily, readily treatable, something that can be managed, and 6 of those were harmful, meaning they gave you a higher risk of having a heart attack, where 3 of those were protective. And so in the 3 that were protective, meaning they lowered one's risk of having a heart attack, was eating, diet based on high fruits and vegetables, getting daily, or not necessarily daily, but having improved exercise, and then limited, and I will say that again, limited quantities of alcohol intake was actually protective. In that study, of the harmful risk factors that they discovered, the number one that had the highest odds ratio of giving you a risk of heart was smoking.
The smoking. I mean, you
Was smoking.
Yes.
And I think that's critical. The one thing that I think even some physicians miss is the opportunity at every single office appointment. I ask people smoking status, because you'll be surprised how many people say they'll go to a doctor, and my doctor never asked me about smoking. And one, if I said yes in the little sheet that you fill out before, 15 pages, yes, no, blah, blah, blah. And so you fill what is called a review a system sheet. You'll say, yeah, smoke, go in the room, and it's never brought up at the visit. And there's been studies after studies showing the impact of a physician simply taking a couple of minutes to address that, bring it up, and in fact, tell the patients the harmful or deleterious effects of smoking, the impact of that as opposed to a family member or the nurse who checked them in, the medical assistant. Because what they do is they leave that office visit and say, if the doctor didn't bring it up, it must not be a good, must not be a big thing. I put on the sheet, I smoke. He's talking about this and that, but he ain't talking about my cigarette. Yeah, so they're like, hey, that must mean I can keep smoking.
Light it up.
So smoking was the number one highest odds ratio of attributable risk. And indeed, you raise a valid point, which is that these 9 factors attributed for 90% of all of our risks: blacks, whites, Asians, South Asians, Africans. This was a study done across the entire earth, across all of the inhabited continents of the earth. And so we accounted and tried to account for all various ethnicities and racial groups. And these were applicable across all of those ethnic groups, that these things accounted for 90% of your risk of heart attack. While the genetics, the things that we can't control, being a man, the genes we get from mom and dad, yes, they play their role, but they account for only 10% of your risk. So I try to tell people that you're like I said, your heart is truly in your hands, because you have the opportunity to take this time to try to modify those factors. So, someone had asked the question of the 3 things would be not smoking, increasing physical activity, because I think that translates so much into decreasing your risk of being overweight, obese, developing diabetes, developing high blood pressure. So physical activity, increasing physical activity. And this starts early. We got to do this in our kids, elementary school, middle school, because the obesity epidemic is rampant, and it's affecting our kids. And if you can't start and have good, healthy habits at an early age, it's much harder to go back and do that as an adult.
And that's the thing, though. That's the thing, Dr. Meadows. Like, I know we were mentioning this too yesterday. It's easy to run through McDonald's.
Oh,
it's easy to run through Wendy's. It's easy to run through, a fast food chain and feed your family. And in a day and age where I think a lot of people don't, we also grew up where we had meals when we came home.
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't eat out, because if you don't come home and eat this food that I cook, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
and you're gonna eat the food that I cooked, or you're gonna go to bed hungry.
Yeah.
So we had that type of lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, everything is more accessible.
Yeah.
Let me get this. Plus, I don't have to cook this meal because I worked so many hours and I did this. Hey, McDonald's is open. White Castle is open. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not,
absolutely.
and we did get McDonald's and we did get those things, but it was fine.
Far and few.
You know what I'm saying? We didn't get it 3-4 times a week. These kids are getting McDonald's 3-4 times a week.
2 or 3 times
And
a day. A day. Breakfast.
And doesn't West Virginia have the highest obesity rate?
Yes, absolutely.
They're the highest, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. When I showed the trend of the graphics showing from 1980s at the onset of the obesity epidemic up into present day, West Virginia has been the leader in highest obesity rates in the country. You know, there's other states that, you know, parallel or equal our rates, but this is a problem, and this is not only the Black community, but this is, you know, a West Virginia problem.
West Virginia problem.
Absolutely.
We're number one.
Yeah, the one thing you don't want to be number one in. Yeah, absolutely. But I think in part it goes back to what we talked about, Norm, which is, you know, growing up, you know, we was always together. We was at each other's house. So, you know, if I was hanging out and, you know, we were out doing things and then, you know, when I said, you know, if you went to eat and I was with you at your house, then your mom set me down and said, here's your meal.
Yeah,
if you came to my house, then my mom was feeding you a meal. And that communal, you know, support and we are all raising, you know, each other's kids. And I think that's lost more now that I don't see that as much. As I used to.
I hope you don't see that. And being in a community center and being a director of a community center, you know what I'm saying? I mean, as I said, it's like, wow, it's not the same.
Yeah, no, you're on the front lines even more than me. I mean, you see it every day.
I always say that we were the last generation that grew up, and I say this in a lot of stories. We were the last generation that grew up having where it used to be, it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
I think we were the last generation to experience that, what that truly meant.
Yeah.
If you got in trouble by, you know what I'm saying, I get in trouble by your parents, I'm gonna go home and my mom's already know I'm gonna get in trouble there, and it's likewise. And then you got
in trouble first at my house.
Trouble first, right?
Yeah, at my house, and then you went for
and
the
you went
second
going
one.
back home and talk about she put her hands on me, or he put it and you know what I'm saying? There wasn't no question.
What did you do?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? There wasn't no question, you know what I'm saying? So
now parents they calling up that you hit my son, you touched my kid.
My child. What's wrong with you?
Nah, my mom was like, if someone needed, then what did you do? Was the first question, because I'm about to give you your second one.
And the thing about, like you said, we carry baseball bats, and not to hit somebody with it, but to hit baseballs. We carry footballs, we carry basketballs. So if you walk so far down the block or up the street, you always found a game.
Yeah.
So we were always more active than these kids are now.
In the community, do you still see pickup games?
Out here on the court at this every once in a while.
Basketball,
every once in a while.
Not
the way
football,
but not pickup games. We play pickup games.
Baseball games.
No, you're not in that same manner. You're not seeing pickup games in that same manner. You're not seeing we had the strikeout. We played in the we had the bat. We played strikeout. We played any sport that could come up with. We were playing constantly all day long. So
I'll throw this question to you guys to get your thoughts. Do you think, you know, he raised this valid point that it appears that we may be the last generation of this? It takes a village to raise a family. Do you think that this opportunity is long and past us, or do we think that this can be changed or improved or reverted back to how things used to be?
I'll let you take that first, lady, too, before I jump in.
You know, I don't know. I hope so. I don't know for sure. I know that when I was growing up and then when I had my first child, if it wasn't for my village and the community that helped me along the way, I don't know how I would have survived. My child would have survived. So I hope that it's not long gone, you know, because I think it's much needed. We need the help. You can't do it all by yourself. So I'm hopeful. That's all I know to say.
What do you think, Norm? What do you think?
All right. Because there are a lot of variables that can be changed and can't be changed. We have to talk about. Let's first of all say we have to talk about. We had telephones on the wall. Let me go there too. We had telephones on the wall. So if I was to go and see Tim and Telly and them, if I was gonna walk to their house, once I called and said, "Are you home?" and they get off the phone and start going in that direction, I'm going in that direction, and hopefully they still there when I get there. If not, or we're meeting, or I'll meet you. Meet me halfway. Somebody's house is in between. We're gonna meet over such and such house and pick him up, and pick them up, and then we're gonna leave from their house and go pick them up. So anyway, we have bicycles.
Yeah,
I think parents give kids rides everywhere they need to go these days.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, there's things that's interchangeable. So I'm gonna get to the answering the question too. So we also grew up in an era where crack rock started hitting our neighborhood. So things started happening. Of course, violence, guns, all kinds of stuff came into play.
Yeah.
It's kind of even almost sad to say it was scary to go outside anymore, right? So you had to stay inside because you didn't want to be out and something just randomly happens or something. So we kind of grew up in that era where things, and I can see where parents were scared to let their kids go out and play and different things like that. So those are some things that to me, the crack era is the number one reason why we're the last because of the crack era. The crack era destroyed families.
Yeah.
So devastated the black structure and some white families too. We're just making a black thing, but when we statistically look at the numbers, it definitely hit the black neighborhoods harder. It destroyed the black family, even black men going to prison, black moms being strung out on drugs. Now grandparents are raising kids. Now kids are raising kids. Now the effects of poverty on top of that. You know what I'm saying? So, at one point when I went to college, I know when I turned 20, I remember Ryan, my friend Ryan saying, "Bro, it's a miracle and it's a blessing that you live to see 20 years."
Wow.
And I remember Ryan saying that. It made me think,
it made you pause for a second and say, hold on.
Let me
think about this.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, wait a minute. Because a lot of black males and being free at that. You're not locked up or you're not dead at the age of 20. That makes you think. So that's why I say so is there hope? I think there's always hope. And I'm a person with a deep faith. We
can't lose hope.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
once hope is lost, then
that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. That's why I stay here in this community center. Because I feel that's kind of like you talked about earlier about having a purpose. I be wanting to walk away because I feel like I got skills and I got a degree and I could go do this and I want to walk away, but then when I do and I watch a kid, right when I get that feeling and I see a kid come through my door and I'm like, dang, you know what? All right, we're gonna get this kid some hope too. Whatever. Absolutely. But I think it's possible. So I know I ramble. Sorry if I ramble off into my answers, but just basic. I'm gonna be an optimistic person and say there's hope. Now, being a realist, it's taking time. Yeah. It's going to take a little time for us to get back to that village raising a child. And it's not too lost. It's not too far gone. It's not too far gone. I see some people out here doing. Other than just me, I see people in the community that that are doing good things for these kids and looking out for the youth and some of these young adults. So.
And sometimes that takes individuals like you to inspire others to get involved. They don't want to be that initial individual, but once they see someone else doing things, then they say, "Hey, I can piggyback on the efforts. I see Norman doing these things. Let me go and kind of contribute it." It's tough being the one to break down the wall and break down and be the leader and the first one to do something. But you provide inspiration to other people to say, "Hey, he's trying to give back. Let's try to help him out. Let's try to contribute it. If it's dropping off clothes if we need to. If it's financially, hey, I can't give you the time, but I can help. With some finances, or I can't give you the finances, but I can give you some time. So I think that's important. But the other thing we haven't touched on, which I think personally has drastically played a negative impact, not only Black kids but all kids now, is the devices, smartphones, the iPads, one. I don't see kids playing pickup things in my neighborhood because they're all in. I'm like, where are all the kids? They're all inside on their iPads, and when they talking to each other, it's because they're on a video game talking to each other through a video. I'm like,
who's sharing the future? We're talking with our thumbs, right?
Yeah, no, and I'd be out, come back home and I'll see family men, younger generations and friends come over and they're in the same room, but they're not talking to each other. They're all on their phones, but they just sitting in it. I'm like, y'all like not even talking to each other.
Not even.
And you're in the same room, right. And you not even talking and
ain't even looking up to acknowledge each other in a sense.
So I think that's contributed to when you're inside and on a device all day, then you're not outside running around. You're not outside, playing pickup ball, trying to do something. I think we got to get our kids heavily involved in sports early on. The values that even if you're not the super athlete or going to be successful in professional athlete, but there's value in learning how to compete in life, learning how to be a team player in life, learning how to work with others, learning how to get knocked down and get back up. You're going to lose some battles, but we're going to come back and win some. So I think, I'm like you. I can get on my soapbox about this and talk all night long until the lights go out in here. But
I think that's what I was alluding to when I said we have phones. But it's one of those things too where people are like, hey man, these kids getting soft these days.
Absolutely. And
they fall down and
technology. I view it as the gift and the curse. It's going to help transcend some things, but you're going to have to deal with the negative impact. Yeah, there's going to be some things where AI, those things are going to be.
I was about to say, Lady T, that's one of our topics is coming up. We're going to talk about. We want to talk about this new AI stuff. You're so right. These devices are getting into the hands of 2-3-year-olds.
No, and some of these, these are still brains.
It's a babysitter
that are neurologically in development. If you think about it from a kind of a medical standpoint, you're exposing, elementary kids, even middle school kids who don't have the capacity to deal with, someone didn't like it, I got a dislike, and I got a this, and I didn't get so many likes from a picture, and adults, we know how to, our brains are fully developed, and we have the capacity to deal with, negative things. And I think our kids are exposed to way too much outside influence and living life based on what others, how others view and value them, as opposed to how they value themselves. At home we have it, obviously I don't say they can never get on devices, but my wife doesn't. I mean, you have very limited time, and then I have a 16-year-old daughter, 13-year-old son, and there's no any of this social. There's no Facebook. There's no Instagram. There's none of those accounts.
I commend you for that. And I know it's a hard thing. Do your kids read a lot?
Oh, do they? Our library is bigger than the public library in Concord. No, that's we say, all right, you want 30 minutes, then you're going to go read for an hour. You want,
you gain your time by doing this first. And then you do gain some time.
You do what I'm saying? We have for you first, and then you earn the right to have some what we call device time. But it won't be device time without you reading first, doing our things, doing our home, our homework assignments, even from away from school. They go to school and then they come home and get lessons immediately from my wife beyond what school taught them that day.
Yeah. Oh man. And that's where the difference. And like I said, we promote education and health here at Positive People Association. So our summer program is geared around education in the daytime. We teach in the basic classes, and then in the afternoons we teach things like this, like, you know what I'm saying. But at the same time, podcasting and it teaches public speaking. They have to research. If they were to interview you, they'd have to research who you was. They got to go look it up. They can't, write down 10 questions. So a lot of that is critical thinking skills.
Absolutely.
That is teaching, and in a fun way, because they like doing this. They like podcasting. But if you're going to do it, this is how you're not going to just sit up there and
you're going to do it right. Yeah, you're going to do it right. Absolutely.
Because when I did let them do that, they like, at the end of it, they're like, oh, we can't post that, because then they realize we weren't prepared. And then you don't want to look silly doing that type of stuff. But then, hey, D.
You don't get likes when you're silly.
Thanks for tuning in. D and Red tuned in and comment.
Hey, what's up, D?
I just want to acknowledge her and say, hey. But
also, Sora Felicia White said medicine takes all one's time when they love it. So, hey.
True. Very true. Her. Very true.
Yeah.
I think I fumbled the quote. I knew it 20 years ago, but it's the jealous green monster is what. Yeah, that's the quote.
Yeah.
Medicine is the jealous green monster.
See, I couldn't correct it. I no clue what was going on with that, but yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question, Dr. Meadows, when you were talking about like preventative things as far as like stop smoking and things like that. What do you say to people that say, I don't smoke cigarettes, I vape?
She talking about
is there?
I don't vape though.
Has there been like?
That's a good question.
Vaping as a transition to get off cigarettes is potentially something I will entertain in the short run. Some of the harmful effects of cigarettes is not necessarily only the nicotine, but also all of the additives that come in cigarettes. That's the carcinogenic, or the things that lead to cancer. So nicotine is very addictive, and that's the addictive component. But a lot of the carcinogenic things that are going to hurt your DNA come from the additives once you light a cigarette and the things that you inhale. Certainly the data is now more and more demonstrating that these e-cigarettes and things, what initially was thought was going to be, hey, this is better and safer. I don't think that's the case. And I think 5 to 10 years from now, we're going to realize that it's just as harmful or almost as harmful as cigarettes. I personally tell patients to, one, they need to decide if and when they're going to come up with a date to quit smoking. Number one, it has to be something that they need to realize the importance, because no matter how bad I want you to quit, if it's not something that you have fully committed to and realize yourself, then it's not something you're going to be able to sustain. And so a lot of times, anything in life, you can't coerce people to do something that they don't want to do themselves and committed to do themselves. So I think number one, it has to be they fully understand the beneficial effects of quitting smoking. They have a set date that they're going to quit. And then I say, can I help you in this process as your physician? Do you need nicotine patches? Do you need nicotine gum? Do we need, to talk to behavioral specialists? Do we avoid the social situations that they associate smoking? Because that's a lot of it is, hey, every time I go to the bar, I know I light up. Every time I'm watching the football game with the boys.
Those triggers.
Yeah.
So I'm a social drink.
Yeah, there's triggers that you got to avoid.
Yeah.
But I personally am not a fan. And, now I'll hear, even my kids, a lot of these kids in high school and stuff vaping, and now they're putting, marijuana in the vaping and not tobacco products. And, I'll hear things, kids going to school and teachers don't even realize that they're not even putting nicotine in.
It's marijuana. They're sitting there hot.
Yeah.
In class. So just mention that though. Is marijuana as bad as nicotine though?
No. If given a choice, if someone's sitting in front of me in the office and said, Doc, I got, stress in life. You tell me the importance of, relieving stress, dealing with stress. I'm going to do one or either. I'm going to smoke tobacco, or I'm going to, use, marijuana or cannabinoid products, either gummies, or I would absolutely favor the use of marijuana over tobacco products. Are they completely safe without detrimental health risks? As I mentioned yesterday at the event, there's some data, even I heard as of recent, like last week, there's some data being published where we think that that marijuana may not be as
Detrimental?
that it may be more harmful than we were first led to believe.
That it may not be.
That it is, there may be more harm than what we initially were thinking 5 or 10 years ago, that we may be seeing that there may be more harmful effects from marijuana than what we initially thought. But it was initially kind of, when I was coming through med school and things like that, it's like, no, marijuana is illegal, but it's not really going to be harmful. And now sometimes people, when, depending on how they consume the marijuana, if they mix it in some type of papers or things like that you're getting the same toxic additives that from like a cigarette or something like that, then that's going to be harmful. But the pure kind of marijuana, like if you did marijuana in brownies or gummies or something like that, we used to think that wasn't particularly harmful, and I'm not so sure that that's going to hold out to be the case. But is it less harmful than cigarettes? Absolutely. I mean, I have many patients that come to me and say, hey, I'm either going to smoke and relieve stress, or but it's going to be something. I'm telling you, I can't deal with it on, and then I say, well, yeah, if you're giving me an option of A or B, then yeah.
Okay.
And then can we talk about the importance of annual physical exams? Because this is where NormB and I go back and forth.
Hey, listen, this is the biz. This is not.
This is the biz. Listen. So I'm bringing the biz to the biz.
He's not the proponent of annual physicals. Huh?
He is the worst patient ever. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let's back up. The only reason you went to the doctor is because your wife calls the doctor and makes your appointment for you and tells you have an appointment on what day. Because
we're a team. What's wrong with that? We're a team.
Otherwise, you would not go.
Okay, but I got a wife that helps you to make sure I go. We're a team.
I know, but I'm saying I just want to hear from Dr. Meadows the importance of annual physical exams.
No, absolutely. I mean, when you hit at the aspect that prevention is key, and lowering our risk is through prevention. As I mentioned yesterday, you can't prevent something, you can't address a problem if you don't know that problem exists. And so many of these things that we talked about, you're not going to wake up one day and there's going to be a note on the dresser, your blood pressure is high now. I mean, blood pressure is called the silent killer for a reason. You don't know your blood pressure is high unless you go get it checked. You don't know that I'm uncontrolled diabetes. My sugar's been running 200 for the last 3 months unless you go get your blood work checked. And so, and we spoke about, other things, cancer prevention. I mean, now we're seeing colon cancer rates strike adults much earlier in life than we ever used to think.
Started at 50 now.
Now you have 40. People dying in their early 30s and late 30s from colon cancer. Wow. Prostate cancer. I mean, we stress the importance of prostate, in African American men. So all these things that, it's absolutely important that, once a year you should at least go to a doctor, have them, listen to your heart, listen to your lungs, get your blood pressure, check your heart rate, plus minus, get an EKG, and then, run some basic lab work. How's my kidneys doing? How's my cholesterol doing?
They did my labs.
Yeah. So,
6 months at my age.
No, it's never fun. And I'm an individual like everyone else, and I've been in prostate exams, and that's never fun. But
so they put you to sleep for a prostate exam?
No, they don't put you to sleep. They say bend over and take a deep breath. The colonoscopy exam. The colonoscopy screening, you're put to sleep. Colonoscopy screening, but prostate in men is a digital rectal exam where they go in and palpate your prostate and make sure you don't feel any nodules in your prostate or enlarged prostate. That's not a
sleeping thing.
No, that's not anything.
See,
that's to tough it out.
I'm a.
And hope that your physician is 5'6" like me and not 6'4".
I gotten. I've gotten physicals. I play sports.
Yeah,
right? So
absolutely.
I've had to get a physical every year before you play or whatever. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to check out. But I guess when you get older, you can make those decisions on your own. So it's not that I'm totally against it, but and like I said, last year when we talked about this with Dr. Logan, Georgiana, when we talked about doing these things, this was a question that came up amongst the men in the group. And it was like a raise a hand. How many of us have had a prostate exam? You know what I'm saying? And hands were like not going up. You know what I'm saying? And some of these guys were older. We had guys anywhere from our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even a guy in the 70s.
Oh,
right?
wow. Yeah.
So we had a group of men that was coming once a week. So we talked about this. And you're right. A lot of it was scary. Like, I like Cat Williams said, I wanted to keep this a virgin hold. You know, I don't want to,
Yeah, absolutely.
And you get scared of that stuff. Like, it's just like, it do make me nervous. I hate needles for one. Not that it's a needle, but like, even when I went and got my labs the other day,
bro,
you
play football. You play football.
I know, you know what I'm saying? But
level.
I'm still like, and the needle wasn't, but like, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't even that big, but I'm like, she every time she I'm pulling my arm back like
you just made it worse.
I'm like, don't stick me yet. And then I had to turn my head and think of something else while she stuck at me. But anyway, yeah. So I admit that the habits that you get. One thing that helped me slow down and stop smoking was running. When we started doing 5K races and we started doing obstacle course races. Because we were running more and my body was saying one or the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Either going to be able to try to breathe or, and then I started telling myself the 30 minutes that it take me to smoke a black and mild, I could have just ran 5 miles in that 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Or not, I could have ran 5 miles, 3 miles in that 30 minutes. Same time that it's taking me to sit here and kill my lungs, I could have been killing my lungs. So those type of mental things that you have to overcome. What choices are you going to make? And it's hard. Tobacco is very addictive. Alcohol can become very addictive to people. So, this is just it's not.
Eating's an addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
Eating's an addiction. It's just as bad as the nicotine. Eating's an addiction.
And you touch on these high fructose drinks and juices and all those things that, I commonly will go on, abstinence from sodas completely. And I'll tell my wife, all it takes is drink one, and then the next day you wake up and you want another soda. And then you look up and now a week's gone by and you're back to drinking sodas again. So all of that, and there was a national news story just when I drove up here Thursday night looking that juices that the, Academy of Pediatrics and things are going to go back and change guidelines and, certain infants below a certain age should not have any fruit juices, natural, these juices at all. And then they limited quantities just because they're not as beneficial and harmful. So all of those things, there's so many addictive things in life, but you need, as you mentioned, I tell patients, you need to take something negative and substitute it with something positive, and that becomes your addiction.
And that becomes your addiction.
You're running because my addiction.
And I said, running became our addiction.
Yeah, exactly. So you take cigarettes instead of smoking a cigarette. I'm going to go do something. I walk around the block every time I get the urge. Yeah. So it's possible. It's a struggle. As with anything in life, I tell people, you're going to backslide. I don't, like I mentioned at the event, I don't fully expect. I would love it if it happens, but I don't fully expect for someone to come in who's doing a carton of cigarettes, a day, to come in next week and say, or 6 months later, I haven't touched a cigarette at all, and I just went cold turkey by myself. I quit, said I was going to quit next week, and I haven't had any. No, that's not reality,
Right.
And so I commonly make gentleman bets with my patients. Say, all right, gentleman bet $1. 6 months from now, I want you to go from a full pack to a half a pack. And I say, when you see me back, we're going to first thing I'm going to ask you is, where are we? And then I'll say, all right, you got to your half pack. 6 months from now, a year from now, we're going to be down to a quarter pack. And it's a gradual, impact. The one time that people can, make this kind of draconian changes when they've had a very sentinel event in their life, like a major heart attack. Now, I do see some of those people come back in. That was the wake-up call. And, since January 17, 2004, I haven't smoked a cigarette. That was the day I had my heart attack or the day I had open heart surgery. So that happens, but more times than not, I get people who, hey, doc, I quit for 2 years, 3 years, and now I ask them every time, even if I say, they told me to quit last year, I say, hey, you start smoking again? And, yeah, I can't believe it, man. My mom died, and it was just bad times, got stressful. I went and picked up a cigarette, and then I looked up, and now I'm back to smoking like I was before. So, it's tough. It's a challenge, but it's something you just got to kind of be, committed to and work on daily and weekly, and realize. But I think part of our role as physician is I have to provide the education and inform patients of why it's harmful, what are the benefits to quitting, and then as adults, then they have to kind of realize they got choices they have to make. And
you can lead the horse to the well, but you can't make it drink the water. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of what I'm saying. And keep leading them to what is it? Lead the horse to the well.
You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink.
Okay, yeah. The water's in the well.
Well, yeah.
But you can lead the horse to the water.
Right.
Mr. Meadows, Telly, my brother, keep leading people to the water. We appreciate all that you have done for the community. You do not know how much of an inspiration that you are to the community. Really, truly, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people, and I meant to mention, a lot of people can say, I know a famous rapper, I know a cardiologist, and that is a person that's saving lives, literally. I know somebody that saves lives, literally, and that's what I'm saying. Those are the type of people that we need to. This is Black History Month. Those are the type of people we need to look. You're the type of people. You're the type of person that, what I'm saying, we need to look to. Reiterating what they say yesterday, what Maria said, sister-in-law said, great father, great husband, great doctor, great friend, great brother, great uncle, all of that, man, just great. I'm so thankful to God that I do know you and I know your family. Keep inspiring. Lady T, you got anything to say?
I just want to say, God forbid anything happen heart-wise to either of us, but if it does, we coming to see you.
Oh, yeah,
we coming to North Carolina, and we are coming to see you. We want you. But I just want
to travel 3 to 4 hours once a year to come see me. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So we put all of our trust in Georgia. You if anything would ever happen. And we thank you so much. We know you're busy, and we thank you for taking your time. Your family. So we just appreciate
Felicia White and the president of the Huntington Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc. also wants to thank you. She put that on Facebook. They thank you as well. They know it's well worth getting you. And the Huntington community wants to thank you for coming back, bro.
Anytime.
Hey, let me just ask one more thing before I know we get ready to close out.
Yeah.
But as a final thing for Dr. Meadows, what would you say to a young man or woman from Huntington or tri-state area? What would you say to them? What inspirational, motivational word would you give them?
I would say that there is no limit to the things you can accomplish by simply being born here, raised in Appalachia, that I've had opportunities to go many places in the world, and the sky is the limit. It takes diligence, dedication, commitment, taking advantage of opportunities, and don't miss opportunities. But don't ever sell yourself short. That's what I've learned. I mean, I always look back and say, no one would have ever expected me as a Black kid, born premature, 50-50 chance of living, from West Virginia, to have gone and worked, trained, educated at some of the places I did, people I meet, and you realize that I'm just as capable as everyone else.
Good word.
are listening to the Biz. The Biz. The Biz.
The Biz.
The Biz.
The
The
Biz.
B-I-Z.
All right, Lady T.
I'm good. This was a great
Thanks for
conversation.
tuning in to the Biz. That's the B-I-Z. It's your boy NormBeezy.
And they
You can also check us out on
appreciate it.
buzzsprout.com for more episodes. And we look forward to hearing from you and seeing you on the next one.
On the next
on
one.
the next one. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
So you get